you talking about? What am I doing?
You reading them nasty books again, right, Myron?
Everybody reading those nasty books, man. You scared the hell out of me. What you talking about, man? Wait, I ain't did that in about 2 weeks.
You called yesterday 2 weeks. What you reading? What you reading?
You scared the goddamn book, man. Dr. EnQi. I went on Amazon and got 3 Dr. EnQi books because I'm reading about melatonin and biochemistry.
What is, Myron, that's not even first of all, it's not melatonin and whatever it is that you just said. It's melanin and biochemistry. You can't even pronounce the word, so how you reading? How you reading, Myron?
I'm not looking at the pictures. I got the books right here. I'm looking at the pictures. You know, it ain't nothing nasty about this. So what are you talking about? I got all the books right here. What are you talking about?
Myron, you don't even know how to read. Every time we get mail, you bring it to me. You think I don't know that?
I went to I got hooked on Phoenix. Now, what you talking about? I was hooked on Phoenix, so I know how to read.
As a win, because first of all, hooked on phonics, I believe it's for kids. There's no such thing as hooked on Phoenix. And if I recall, you're the same person that thought reindeer was pronounced reinder, and you're the same person that thought pigeon was pronounced piggion. So it makes sense that you went to hooked on Phoenix.
Man, that's a dumbass.
No,
you always trying to say somebody can't read. I know exactly what I'm talking about, man. I'm reading the book. I got the book. I got the goddamn receipt right here. For the books. What you talking about?
Well, you need to return them for somebody who know how to read them. And I still don't. It's probably all type of stuff in the inside of the books, Myron.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta flip it up. You said already? This is old. We had these for I dug this out. We had these for over a year. Yeah, these is like over a year old. Yep, these these came out the summer before last. These came out the summer before last. And then the camouflage joint came out like last winter, I think it was. Yeah, I think the camo came out.
The gods have blessed us. We must act now. We must act now to save us, to save our souls.
Yeah, so these came out last winter. I like the camo better. The camo, like, it fit me a little bit better. So I like wearing the camo hat better, but technically I like this one better. Yeah, I like this better, the snapback better. I just, for some reason, I don't know, maybe the way my head is, or probably my head is too big for it. You know what I'm saying? Like my head might be too big for it because, or maybe just on the live stream. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's, I don't know, my head might be too big for it. Like when Chase wears this, he be looking fresh to death in this. You know what I'm saying? I gave it to him as soon as I got the camo joint. But, you know, it's cold now, so I was like, let me go dig this out real quick and throw this on. Yeah, I like the camo better. I think it just fit me better. Plus, back in the days, I was telling Chase and Caleb, I was like, yo, when I was y'all age, camo was everything for us. I had every color camouflage army pants, even the basic ones, the basic black, the basic green, the tan joints, the ones that was the same color as the Timberlands. Like, that was a thing back in the days. Plus, we thought we was in the street. I don't know what we was thinking. That is beautiful. Yeah, I guess, yeah. This one, I just like I don't know, something about maybe the color scheme, the black, you know what I'm saying, with the, you know what I'm saying, I don't know, I like this one, but I just feel like my head is probably too big for it. You know, sometimes something look good, but not necessarily good on you. For real, back in the Smith and Wesson, they New York, you know what I'm saying? So they was just, you know, people seen them around the world, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, they was just doing their New York thing. Yeah, they was just doing their New York thing. How do y'all feel about I want to ask y'all a question. How do y'all feel about God? That's one question. And then how do y'all feel about prayer? How do y'all feel about God? And how do y'all feel about prayer? Two separate questions. Don't get quiet now. Yeah. Don't get quiet now. I want to know how y'all feel about God and prayer. They say you're not supposed to talk about religion and politics. Those are the two things that are the most inflammatory subjects. I think those are two of the most important subjects to discuss. I'm working. I appreciate that. Well, you know what? I want to say that is a part of education. People need some education. People need some education. And then also on top of needing education, you know, like how it's a thin line between love and hate. It's a thin line between God and fake. It's a thin line between, you know, team God, team life, because that's what it really is about. Team life and team death. You know what I'm saying? Working with the ops. So, you know, the books have been a blur, but I think it is the Electrician Prayer Manual, Part 1, right? We just released the Electrician Prayer Manual, Part 2, right? I told y'all I finished for December, but it was some stuff in the pipeline that still needed to go through. But in the Electrician Prayer Manual, we talked about abundance, right? I think it was the Electrician Prayer Manual. I could be wrong though. But it's one of those books we talk about abundance, right? And we talk about people as enzymes of the planet, right? People as enzymes of the planet. So in the Go book, we talk about how cells form everything they need on the inside. And we go into the technicality of how, you know, all of the molecular machinery is formed. Everything is an entendre with me. Everything is multiple, it's layered, right? So on the one hand, we needed to go through that information so we get an idea of how our cells work. But on the other hand, I keep saying we're made in the image and likeness of God. So learning about our cells is learning about God. Learning about ourselves is learning about God. Learning about ourselves is learning about ourselves, right? So the real essence of abundance, like you have a wave of prosperity preaching, right? And the prosperity preaching has gotten like way out of control, right? So a lot of people have they have an abundance idea that's tied up into like what they think on TV is a rich person. So abundance is like having a big mansion and mad cars and money and this. No. If we think about how the cells work, right? Abundance is having everything you need to accomplish everything you're supposed to be accomplishing. That's what abundance is. So if you have a situation that requires you to have $1 billion, you'll have $1 billion, right? That'll be abundance for you. But 9 out of 10 times with the current construction of how our society works, $1 billion is just excess. It's excess, and we're watching the crimes of excess live. This is the era of the fallen stars, right? So most people don't have any real idea of, especially from our communities, because we've broken away from all tradition. And that's by design, if you ask me. We've broken away from all tradition. I used to tell people that with the health information, you know what I'm saying? Because it's all related, it's all holistic, right? So at the point that we stop trusting grandma, we stopped trusting grandpa because they couldn't fully explain to us why certain plants worked for us, right? They say, oh, well, just drink that tea right there. Or just go ahead, let me give you some of this cod liver oil. Or let me do this, or let me do that. Or take this, you know, blackstrap molasses. Or we came from a culture in America where we had to make lemonade out of lemons. Or we had to make lemonade out of used lemons. That would be more apropos. We had to take used lemons and turn them into lemonade, right? We didn't even get whole lemons. We had to get used lemons and turn them into lemonade. So in that space, we didn't really have access to everything that, like, now we could just go to the website, AmericanHealer.website, right? And we can go get iron. But we couldn't do that. So we had to deal with what we had. Had this blackstrap molasses, this is going to get your blood a little stronger. Now, it may have some other funky stuff in there that if we have the option to just go get the iron that we need, we'll do that instead. But we had that and so when the grandpa and the grandma could no longer break it down in the way that it satisfied our curiosity, we just totally left all of our old stuff. And the same thing with Same thing with our understanding of God. Same thing, our understanding of religion and the Bible. It all swirled around and became one thing. And because maybe 200 years ago, the church was a powerhouse for us from the 1800s all the way into, I would say maybe the 1950s, maybe a little bit earlier it stopped, but the church was a powerhouse. That was the center for education. What we couldn't find in the school system, we got through the church. What we couldn't get through the government, we got through the church. Even when things had to turn up, it was the church people on the front line, starting fires and revolutionary acts and all that. Most of our revolutionary stuff also came through the church. So there's a time period where the church is, and then there's a time period where the pastors start getting into raping kids, graping, you know what I'm talking about. It gets crazy. Put it like that. I'm trying to avoid the YouTube buzzwords. It got crazy in the church. So we just equated church, instead of a cultural center, we started to look at church as the center for God and all things spiritual. And so because we were done with the social or cultural centers of the mosque, because I don't know where y'all at, but the mosque was getting caught up in murders and drugs. The churches was getting caught up in sex scandals. The synagogues, the rabbis, those was dudes bringing in ecstasy, ice, and all kind of so all of the major edifices was getting caught up in crazy stuff, and they was flashing that on the news like crazy. And so that just justified what we already wanted to do, which was break away and start listening to, goofballs that's telling us, explaining away our spiritual systems. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, I wish my words would have had more weight to them. Honestly, we could have probably been a lot further. You know what I'm saying? But I had to sit on the side and we had to watch Polite whole life play out. But I was saying this same stuff I'm saying now back then. I'm like, yo, this don't make no sense. It's one group of people, North Africa. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? So that's why, if you notice, back when I was really partnered up with Polite, really supporting Polite, Polite wasn't doing the banging on the Hebrew Israelites thing. He wasn't shooting no Bibles or none of that. He wasn't doing none of that with me. He was, in fact, writing books, studying Hebrew. When Polite was under my wing, he was studying Hebrew. When me and Polite split up, I mean, on the surface, it might have looked like we were still, you know what I'm saying? But when me and him split up, like behind the scene, that's when he went that way. And I went to Philly and I was doing Minister EnQi Sunday school. You know what I'm saying? I was teaching science out of the Bible every Sunday. Like, that was what I was doing. They was in New York attacking the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So, but my point was, it's just about being a better human, right? So when we get down to the science, sure, we can debate authenticity and some of those things, but being a Muslim, being a Buddhist, being a Catholic, a Christian, a Jewish person, all of those things is going to offer you something better than nothing, right? And even with the Kemetic science, right? The larger problem with the Kemetic science is you don't have a system in place where people can plug in. That's what's really needed, right? Because it's cool to get into the Kemetic science and all that, but Where's the organized system of prayer? Where is the building I could go to once a week and plug in, you know, and get quantumly entangled and charged up and have a, you know, like, where is that? All of that's required. You know what I'm saying? All of that's required. When they say there's power in the church or there's power in the mosque or there's power in the synagogue, that's real science. It doesn't even have anything to do per se with God or anything else. It's people coming together on a vibe, on a certain vibe, on a certain frequency, right? You know what I'm saying? So you need that. So that's one of the things, like, that would be dope to see, you know, the LeBrons and the Puffies and the, you know, put some Kemetic churches in every city, or Kemetic temples, however you want to phrase it. Put them in every city, right? I think the Asset Society back in the days was trying to do something like that. You know what I'm saying? But I think that they may have been overshadowed with a lot of the other goofballery that was going on. You know what I'm saying? But I think they attempted to pull that off. So I can't say it hasn't been attempted. I think it has been attempted, but people didn't really plug in, you know, the way they could have, you know, and they still around. So that's, you know, but there's a lot of things in my mind, like, I would like to see. You know, I've been saying since back in the days when I was arguing with the Moors, right? Because they keep talking about birthrights and paperwork and all this and all that. And I'm like, yo, when are y'all going to start petitioning the Arab owners of the pyramid? Like, when y'all going to start petitioning them for the birthright? Go get the pyramids. If you want to prove something to the world as a Moor, you got some paperwork and you're trying to prove jurisdiction, go get them pyramids. Paperwork up the deed on them pyramids. Go over there and tell them folks that's the birthright, and you supposed to have that. Go get that. That's what I want to see. Right? Go get them pyramids. Go down to Mexico. Them folks, listen, these pyramids here and these Olmec joints and all that. Yeah, we got some paperwork. Yeah, the paperwork right here. Yeah, the paperwork says birthright, jurisdiction, you know, civil literate, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, pull that off, right? That's what I want to see. You know, the billionaires, the millionaires, if you want to flex, start a restore the pyramid movement. They done destroyed the pyramids. The brothers got enough knowledge to collectively put back in there what been taken out of there. Right? Let's start a restore the pyramids movement. That's what I'm saying. Like that, that's what we could be doing. See, that's the type of stuff that'll be happening with Dr. EnQi out in the, you know, out in the front. Umar got a lot of visibility talking about a whole bunch of nothing. Umar got a lot of visibility talking about a whole bunch of nothing. I will be out there getting all these $500 million NBA players. Okay, you got 500 million. You got to, yeah, let's put this movement together. We about to restore the pyramids. Oh, no, we got the Moors for all the legalities and paperwork and all that. No, we got Taj too. Yeah, all these paperwork. Everybody, come on. Get with the paperwork. Figure that out. I'm going to wrangle up these guys with the cash. Y'all going to figure out the legalities and all that. Work on that. I'm going to work on these guys to pay for it. And then we're going to get all these guys that have been studying Metal Necha and all that. Yeah, with all the pictures from back in the days before they taught. Yeah, we're going to put it all back together. 3 groups. Boop, boop, boop. The legal team, the teachers with the architects, pictures, and then we got the money team. Let's put the pyramids back in order. Yeah, see, that's what I'm on. That's what I'm talking about, right? So I pray for stuff for me, but as a whole, that's what I be like trying to throw out into the universe. So that's my baby. that I be putting out into the universe. Now I'm sharing it with y'all so it could be on y'all mind and we can add more vibration to it. Like zzz. EnQi said we need to restore the pyramid. Yeah. Because EnQi be over here praying to Shu. Shu be talking to me. So now I'm telling y'all what he said. Listen, it's time to. Got a few dollars? All right, cool. Let's go on back over there and rebuild our program. It's time to rebuild the temple. Rebuild the temple movement. Without debate. There's no debate on it. We don't need to debate on it. We're just putting it back the way it was. We don't need to do no extra adjustments or, well, we think the pyramid was used for this, so we should add. No. No modern nothing. Let's just put it back the closest we can to the way that it was. That's it. Let's put it back to the way that it was, right? We got money, we got technology, we got historical information, historical documentation. There's nothing really stopping us right now but just doing it. Right? That'd be something monumental that this generation could say they did something. This generation could say they did something. And if we start the movement, other people will get involved. Yeah. People from France, people from Africa, all kinds of people will get involved. Restore the pyramids? Yeah. So that came to me. I'm sending that out through the electric, through the radar, through the radio. I'm broadcasting that. It's time to rebuild the pyramids. So Yaki and everybody else that I'm sending it out. Let's go. Time to restore the pyramids. But yeah, I think it's education, and people got to understand that that's a dangerous thing they playing with too. You know what I'm saying? I think for so long that we've denigrated spirituality and disrespected the concept of God, gods, angels, demons, devils, that we take prayer very lightly. And being a Haitian, I've had the luck, to just, that was stressed early on. Like certain stuff I just would never even go on a YouTube video, but I can say for sure, like, we learn not to play with that. You rather pick up some guns, you rather pick up fire and gas, you rather play with anything than play with God or anything anything closely related with spirituality in any form, either direction, good, bad, or indifferent. Because we know that it's real, really real, like really, really, really real. So, and we know that we don't understand it. So those two things together means leave that alone. Leave that alone. You know what I'm saying? Like over the years, a lot of people have approached me like to get more into the voodoo and some of those things. And they'd be like, yo, there's people online talking about this and that. And I'll watch some of those channels, but I'm not doing that on my channel. No, sir. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. I watch them every so often if something's interesting, but I'm not doing none of that. None of that. Because what I know says leave that alone. That's what I know. Leave all that alone. Don't play with none of that. You know what I'm saying? Because people that do, they don't really go, you know, it doesn't pan out long term. The cost is too high. You might get what you want in the short term messing around, but the cost is too high. And it's the same thing with just praying. You know what I'm saying? Like, if people really understood that you really have a connection, like they just wouldn't play with it. They just wouldn't play with it. So that's another reason why we just got to have conversations like this and talk. And even with, okay, one of the books we talk about worshiping false gods and the importance of not worshiping false gods, right? Now, there's even a mumbo jumboical. I just made that up. Mumbo jumboical. Yeah, there's a mumbo jumboical reason, you know, but there are actually scientific and anatomical reasons that we discuss, right? Like, for instance, when the Greeks invaded, right? In the pantheon of Egyptian god stories, right? And the pantheon of Greek god stories, both pantheons address homosexuality. Both pantheons. One pantheon, it's a no-no, a precautionary tale, what would equate to sin. In the Greek pantheon, it's kind of the thing to do. So, you know, there are brain changes that take place along with our concept of God and our understanding of God and or gods or angels, however we want to phrase that. Heavenly hosts, that's hardwired into our brain. It's not just hardwired into our brain to worship or to have a relationship or to want to understand our creator. It's hardwired into the architecture of our brain. So those concepts influence how our brains are developed. Those concepts influence how our brains are developed. So it's deeper than just like a philosophical thing or a conversational thing, or like we just having a debate. It's deeper than that. So, you know, a lot of these concepts, you know, speaking of that, hold up. Why did somebody send this to me? I'm going to play this probably 600 times today, so just get ready.
To the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically? Refer to the Sinai Bible. Would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus? Like the codex that comes. Okay, that's why I was trying to get some clarification, because I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because Sinaiticus in particular is just a 4th century Greek manuscript. Its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. When you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there, I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified, and that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or John 19, or any of the other ones. So my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently.
Where was that piece
I found
discovered?
the text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas. never got crucified. As a matter of fact, the Sinai Bible, Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. But then you go to the Sinai Bible. In the Sinai Bible. And the Sinai Bible. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
Yeah, actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there.
According
Ooh! Oh my goodness. He did that. Wes, the guy in the video, he did that. That's his channel. Oh my goodness. Nasty, nasty work, bro. That was nasty work. Nasty work, man. Nasty work, man. Man, I might play that clip at least 700 times. That right there was the best. That is the best. Undefeated. Woo. Crazy. Crazy. So yeah, I think it's important for us to get into that. And that's really what I wanted to focus in on, because I think a lot of the debates, not the clip of Billy, that's not what I want to focus in on. What we was talking about before I pulled that up. Prayer, right? And just spirituality. But the prayer, I think, is the most important thing. Like that is I gotta go get a new air filter. My air, it's overdue for me to change my air filter. So when I don't change my air filter on time, that's how I know it'll start bothering my nose. Yeah, I got a big nose for a reason. But that's the most important part of spirit of organized religion. I think people get it twisted. Like prayer is the most important part of organized religion. It's not debating frivolously, right? Debates should have a direction. They shouldn't be endless and baseless. They should have a direction. But all things, listen to what I'm saying, all things spiritual, all things holistic should revolve around prayer. All things holistic, all things spiritual should revolve around prayer. Pun intended, revolve around prayer. Like the wave guide. All things spiritual and holistic. Right? You want to cleanse the body. You want to eat a certain way. You want to eat a certain way so that your body is healthy and all that. Okay, cool. But once you get there, see, here's the thing. And this is what I was saying obviously with much less specificity and much less detail, right? Because I try to build people up to a point, right? But I was saying that if you don't have the spiritual part intact, you're never going to be able to keep your habits up long term. Why do you think so many people switch from vegan back to eating whatever? Or people that was vegetarian, they just went back to whatever. Because what was the long-term goal? Right? Most of them believe that they could eat like the weekend after Thanksgiving. Bruh, the weekend after Thanksgiving is huge for the detox market, like, and not my type of detox. I'm talking about the detoxes from the supermarket. All of them ballerina teas and X-Lax and all of those things sell out the weekend after Thanksgiving and the weekend after New Year's. Weekend after Christmas, weekend after Halloween. Always the weekend after these feast holidays, X-Lax, ballerina tea, all that kind of stuff sell out because people believe that they could just poop it out. If they have a good bowel movement, they straight, right? And so if there's not a cultural and spiritual pretext, then you're not going to be doing what you're supposed to be doing for long, right? The whole long-term game is about longevity, but even longevity is tied to what you're doing here, right? And when you realize that your body is an antenna, you're sending signals and receiving signals. The whole idea of eating a certain way is so that you maintain the ability to send and receive frequencies at a certain level. And this is why no matter what religion it is, before they did anything, it was prayer, and prayer was coupled with fasting. So this is another problem I have with the holistic healing community. People don't realize that holistic health is a religion, but it's largely being used by Satanists. There's just no other way around it. If you have a group of people that are religious and they don't know that they're religious, that means they could be led in any direction. The holistic community is the largest community where they're practicing all these weird sex, drug, anus, chakra rituals at. That's not going on nowhere else. That's not going on nowhere else. The drugs mixed with the sex and the chakras and all that, that's only happening in the holistic community. Muslim people ain't doing that. Jewish people ain't doing that. Christians, Catholics, Seventh-day Adventists, Jehovah's, you go down the line, you name it. They're not doing none of that. If they doing something, they just doing whatever they doing, but they're not being like misled and tricked into taking a whole bunch of drugs and they're not doing none of that. That whole community, that whole idea is propped up and held together with the holistic community. This is why we keep getting guys like Billy. And you see, Billy was not propped up by the community. Brother Rich promoted Billy up until Billy got bigger and better backers, more funding, allow him to promote his channels and get his message out there. Same thing Polite did. Like, we were watching the same play running over and over. Same thing Yaki is doing. Yaki came in like that. We're watching the same play over and over. Nature Boy, he had outside funding, help him get his word out. We watching the same play over and over. And they're coming in with these Satan, they're coming in with this. Oh, yeah. And the one thing that's in common, no, Satan, the Bible is the devil. Islam is the devil. The church, the Bible is the devil. The Quran is the tool of the devil. And they only use the Kemetic science. They only use Egypt or Kemet because they don't really live like that. That was my problem with the Amun Ra squad and them. They didn't really believe in Kemet. They were only using Kemet as a way to debunk or pull people out of the church, pull people out of the mosque, pull people out of the synagogue. We're not trying to get you from one spiritual system into another spiritual system. We just want to pull you out of any type of spiritual system. We want you to be non-spiritual people. because you easy prey. You easy prey at that point. You easy to pick off. I like the way that sounds. I like the way that sounds. So listen, I got to get ready for Chase basketball game today. Chase got his first basketball game today. But we got to talk about this. We got to talk about something. I want to get y'all opinion on this, because I'm fired up about this. So I want to get y'all opinion on this. Yeah, I want to get y'all opinion on this. I'm fired up about it. Yeah. There we go. Bang. Yeah, I want to get y'all opinion on this. What do y'all think about Mountain Dew? What do y'all think about Mountain Dew? Come on. I want to know what y'all think about that. What do y'all think about that? Mountain Dew. I'm gonna wait. I want y'all to give me some idea on what y'all think about that concept. Mountain Dew. Y'all awfully quiet. Y'all awfully quiet. I want to get y'all opinion on this. Well, that's exactly how you pronounce it. That's how you pronounce it. It's like Jed Pillar. It's the same. You know, in the Metal Netter, you know, it's the same. That's how you pronounce that. Right? It's a D and a J. Right? So that's how we get Jed. We also have the word. You can spell it like that, or the way it's most often spelled is like this, but it's the same pronunciation. Jew. why I love y'all. That's why I love y'all. But yo, to me, this is crazy. See, this is all a part of my concept that's unfolding, right? That they're first things first. The Greeks invented Egypt and Israel, right? So we've been misled all this time, pretty much by everybody. We've been misled by everybody. Even all of the black conscious brothers on the internet all this time, because they've been convincing us that Israel is fake and the Bible is fake because there's no proof that they ever existed in real life. And they're correct on that. So that's the hardest part to wrap your mind around. You're like, wait, well, how was they misleading us if you're saying they correct? Because there's no concept of ancient Egypt. That is equally as made up. That is fake. There's no ancient Egypt, right? There's no ancient Egyptian pharaohs. There's no ancient Egypt. There's no ancient Egyptian pharaohs. The only pharaohs you got start with Ptolemy and go forward from that. Pharaoh is a Greek term. The Greeks came up with that. Kemetic people did not call themselves pharaohs. That's a Greek thing, right? So you got one group of people, a big country, right? Kemet, Tameri, however you want to do it, right? You got a big country. The Greeks come in, take it over, and then they create Egypt and Israel. And in their creation of Egypt and Israel, they write the narrative. So they come up with Egypt and they come up with Israel and they come up with Egypt and Israel at war. They create the narrative. And overnight, just like that, a whole country full of people disappeared. A whole two countries, really, because Nubia vanished right along with Egypt, right along with Kemet, rather. They vanished. Now you have Egyptians. Right? So, my thought, and I'm just pulling it out piece by piece. My thought, though, is it's just one people that's there, the Kemetic people. Right? And in these books, the Bible and the Quran, they left you a whole bunch of different breadcrumbs. There's a lot of breadcrumbs, right? So if you're lost in the wilderness, you can find your way back home. There's a lot of breadcrumbs in there, right? So I don't take those books for play. I think those books is actually 20 times more serious than people have been, taking those books. Like, I think the Bible and the Quran are very, very, very serious books that should be taken very seriously, because those are your breadcrumbs to find your way back home. And I think this is a very important term. I think this is a very important breadcrumb. Yep. We had two words. We had Nasuts and we had him. Him is a word for king. Nasut, king, him, king. So that's one of the main concepts in the I am him book. I am king. That's basically I am king. I am him. Right? So that's one of the main concepts in that book. But I think this right here is a very important concept. The term Jew, right? Because in the Bible, there's a lot of stuff that's just sitting there that really doesn't really have, like, it's just sitting there. It just doesn't have any flavor or any juice to it. You know what I'm saying? Like listening to the Kemetic guys attack the Hebrew guys and listen to the Hebrew guys attack the Kemetic guys. There's a lot that you won't ever hear about Kemet or about the Bible per se. Listen. Here's my take, right? Here's my take. Well, we got a lot of takes already so far. We got a lot of takes, right? But specifically relating to this term, right? First of all, this right here, this should be criminal. Listen, it should be criminal for a company to understand our biology, understand our biochemistry, and create a soda, literally one of the main things that shuts down Black folks' kidneys and gives them diabetes, and name it Mountain Dew. Like literally, you name the drink after Kemet. You name the drink after Kemet and put it in a green bottle. Like that should be criminal. Somebody should be able to get locked up. Like that is evidence that you are purposely killing folks. That's evidence you purposely out here killing folks. That's like you labeled it that, like just so that whenever our light bulb turn back on, whoop, and we start remembering, remembering, we start putting these memories back together, right? And we go, wait a minute, 2 + 2. Now, how you got a soda out called Mountain Dew? What? So I'm just saying. That's opinion, right? But this term, right? A lot of the Bible folks, especially the Israelite brothers and sisters, they hang their hat on this term. They hang their hat on this. And they tell you that this means this. Man, there we go. They hang their hat on this. That Mizraim means Egypt. And it doesn't. I told y'all what my favorite line in that movie Ray is, right? Ray is one of my favorite movies. Scratch a lie, find a thief. Scratch a lie, find a thief. Right? This does not mean Egypt. So if we scratch a lie, we should be able to find a thief. Right? If we scratch a lie, we should be able to find a thief. And when we scratch the lie, we find out this doesn't mean Egypt. This means mounds. This means mounds. See, this is where it gets really, this is where the evidence starts to pile up and pile up and pile up. And we've been going through all of these different pieces of evidence, all of these different pieces of evidence. We've been building one into the other, into the other, into the other. And it just starts to just pile up, and it starts to just look crazy after a while. Right? Why is this important? Because, right, in Kemet, right, here's one of, okay, so here's one of the things, right, before I even go into the next part, right, well, I'll just write it down, right. Right. So I remember what I was getting ready to say. But here's the thing for me that didn't make common sense, right? And it shouldn't make common sense for you, right? Let's say I'm the Pharaoh, right? Or let's say you the Pharaoh, right? You're the Pharaoh of Egypt, right? Not the Nasut, not it's no Kemet no more. It's Egypt now. You came in with Greece. You wanted the Macedonians, right? You wanted the Macedonians. You Ptolemies. Let's say you Ptolemies. You Ptolemies. Ptolemies the first. Ptolemies the second. Whoever's the head honcho at the time, right? And we just took over Egypt, right? We just took over Egypt. Think about this. Use your own brain. I don't want you to think about nothing that you would think that I want you to say, or don't say what you think is right. I want you to speak from the heart. And I want you to speak from the heart with the caveat. And the caveat is this. The pyramids in today's world are still the number one most mystifying structure on Earth. But the caveat is, the pyramids that we see today are run down. The pyramids that we see today are like the tenement buildings in the hood. Them joints been stripped, they've been robbed, they've been weathered, they've been beat down. The pyramids have been beat down over the last 3,000 years or so. Right? So I want you to add in your mind when I ask you this, that the pyramids is looking mint condition at this time. When Ptolemies comes into Greece, there has been no Napoleon. Napoleon didn't shoot off the nose of the Sphinx yet and all that. Like the Giza Plateau is in mint condition. I want you to think about this. Now you come in to take over Egypt. The Sphinx, the pyramids, the whole program is looking mwah. And you like, listen, I want to know all of the secrets that y'all got down here. I want all of the everything. I want all the good. Where the priest, where the high priest? Yeah. Come, y'all come with us. Hit soldiers, get them, round them up. Yeah, we want the scrolls, the woo. And what is this? All this stuff carved? What is this? Oh, that's the special words of the gods. Oh, we definitely need that. Yeah, break that down. Take all this off of this and write all this down. Yeah, translate this to Greek. Yeah, we need to learn all this right here. We want all this. And so somehow they managed to do that whole program, right? And basically, that takeover, that's the Septuagint, right? All of the wisdom of the world is supposed to be in this one book, right? How is it possible? How is it possible? Like, if I was to write a book today, if you was to write a book today, and that book was supposed to include all of the wisdom on earth, in 2024, I can't see me leaving the pyramids out. And I'm over here in Detroit from the Bronx. These people is the pyramids outside their windows. These is people, the pyramids up the street, the pyramids down the block. How you write a book that's supposed to contain all the wisdom of the world down the block from the brand spanking new pyramids, and the pyramids are not in the book? Huh? So just explain to me how that would have happened. Like, explain to me that part right there, like that part right there. Like, how is the pyramids left out of the Bible? How would that have happened? Being written right there in Egypt. Don't put it in the fireplace yet. Nah. You got to keep all them old joints in the stash. All them old joints in the stash. They got jewels. We standing on their shoulders. Now, I will say this. I wasn't really a fan of Mutwa Ashby. I wasn't a fan of that. So I didn't waste my money with a lot of them books. I bought one or two of his books, and I seen chakras in it. I was like, oh my God, what the hell? I said, oh my God, what is this? So I was never really a Mutwa Ashby fan. Not in terms of like Kemet or Egypt. You know, I was always like, who would I think is the GOAT? Who would I say is the GOAT when it comes to ancient Egypt? Okay, here's the problem. If we go in Kemet, right? If we go in Kemet, right? If we go in Kemet, for me, it's a toss-up. And I'm going to tell you why it's a toss-up between who's the GOAT. Right? If we go on goats, right? The toss up for me between the goat, and I'm biased. I'm biased because I'm gonna go Diop or Jope. You know, people try to say it like, oh, you know, Jope, like they like, you know, like Diop. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to disrespect him. It's just that's the English layman's pronunciation. You know what I'm saying? Just like Osiris. I know Wusi, I know Asar, but Osiris is what people understand. You know what I'm saying? So, but I would say I'm biased towards Diop. Sheikh Anta Diop. I'm biased towards him. But as far as the teaching is concerned, right? As far as the teaching is concerned, I would say Obenga, maybe. Theophile Obenga. I would say that would be I would say the Mwada Ashby joints is Draga. He was hiding yoga and chakraism in the Kemetic teachings. That's what he was doing. He was doing some personal, he was a Billy, if you asking me, you know what I'm saying? He was doing some Billy Carson stuff. Listen, this brown chakra thing goes back. Don't think it's just the recent guys coming with this brown chakra routine. It wouldn't have made it this far if it was just these new guys. No. This brown chakra thing been going on for a minute. Yeah, the brown chakra been going on for a minute. So yeah, Muada Ashby is one of them. He with the brown chakra. So I wouldn't consider him one of the greats in terms of teaching Kemet. I would say Obenga, Theophile Obenga is probably GOAT level. You know what I'm saying? Like if you ask the guys that's into the metal nature, hard body, they're probably going to say Theophile Obenga because he was the one that really opened that up, right? But me, I'm going to say Diop because that was the science guy. That was the guy that was like, listen, this is too much talk. Let's just start sampling. Let's just start sampling stuff and take this to the lab. Listen, we're going to kill all this debate. We're just going to start sampling skin and take this to the laboratory and end all of the debates. Grand opening, grand closing. We're just going to sample these. We're going to put this in the lab and we're done with this. There's no reason for us to keep arguing back and forth. Let's just sample this stuff, take it to the lab, and then we're done. That's how my mind works. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hardwired to go along with that. Even though there are things about Diop himself and his teaching that I disagree with. Right? There's things about his teaching and his message that I disagree with. But when it comes to Kemet, him cutting through the BS and saying, let's just go test, let's just go to the lab with it. I'm biased towards that. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of being an open teacher, like just dropping jewels and really teaching like hardcore fire, like I would have to say, you know, Theophile Obenga. And I didn't really get on to him until I moved out to Philly. When I moved out to Philly, I basically lived inside of Black and Nobel bookstore. You know what I'm saying? I basically lived in there, you know, because when I first got there, I was renting a room, right? I was renting a room and the room was tiny, so I never wanted to be there. So I wake up fresh thing in the morning, I'm going to the bookstore. I'm in the bookstore all day till the bookstore closed. I'm basically just sleeping and washing up at home. You know what I'm saying? So I went through pretty much all of the books in the bookstore. Reading, I read everything that was there that wasn't mine. I read it. You know what I'm saying? Until I worked my way to the front of the room. And the front of the room was like the trash. That was where like the urban literature and the gangster books and all that. Like towards the middle to the back of the store was all of the historical and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Holistic stuff. Middle to the back of the store. So I read all of that stuff. And then I watched all the DVDs. So yeah, when I got to Black and Nobel, that was like another level of eye-opening for me. You said you only heard Nature Boy say brown chakra. Yeah, he named it. He coined the phrase brown chakra, but he had been taught, like others had been taught, that, you know, like Bobby Hemmett said. Bobby Hemmett was just saying, you know, the serpent got to go down into your anus. You know, Bobby Hemmett was more, you know, he was just saying what it was. You know, Brother Panic was talking about having female orgasms from behind. Like they were saying, you know, Nature Boy just came up with a cool way to say what he was trying to say. Say the same thing, you know, brown chakra. Like, you know, it's all inclusive. You know what that is. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I would say Theophile Obenga or Diop would probably be the GOATs, if you ask me, for that type of teaching. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't point anybody to no Muada Ashby. You know, with all due respect though, because I know he spent his life studying it, but he had on chakra colored glasses. So he interpreted everything that he was studying into some sort of yoga chakra Indian thing. Respectfully. People say that every time, but I've been sounding like this before Cat Williams was on the scene, sounding like, you know. But so let's get off that and get back to the information, right? Because we get sidetracked, right? We get sidetracked. So what I'm saying is, answer that question. Don't think I let y'all off the hook because y'all got me distracted and start talking about crazy stuff, right? I want to know, how is it that somebody in Egypt writes a book that's supposed to contain all wisdom and it does not have the pyramids in it? Don't get quiet now. I want y'all to answer that question. See, when we start cutting up, people start writing in the chat. When it's time to answer serious questions, y'all get quiet. Don't get quiet. I want to know, how is that possible? Look, you see that? That's the hieroglyph on the soda can. On the soda can, that's the hieroglyph right there. So what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is this. I don't believe that it's possible to have done that. And I believe the pyramids are referenced plenty of times all throughout the Bible. I believe that this word, Misraim, is a reference to the pyramids. I believe that this word is a reference to the pyramids. Every time it's used. When it says that, you know, when it identifies the people from Egypt as the people from Misraim, I believe it's saying these are the people from the land of the pyramids. The land of the pyramids. Because there's a line of thought, right? There's a line of thought that the pyramids was man-made mountains, and that what they were trying to do was recreate the vibe from Mount Kilimanjaro, right? Let me pull this up on the map so maybe I can make a little bit more sense. Right. It's just no other way. It's just no other way. No. What I'm saying is Misraim, they're saying that it translated as Egypt, but it doesn't. That's a lie that we've been told all this time. We've been told that Misraim means Egypt. But what I'm saying is, and listen, we can say that Egypt, Kemet, all those, we can say that we can say Giza, right, is the land of the pyramids, right? But what I'm saying is that the pyramids are referenced specifically. So by saying those are the people from the land of the pyramids, it's a specific reference to the pyramids and not necessarily to, you know, like Egypt, even though we know Egypt is where the pyramids are, right? But it's saying those are the people of the pyramids. Like, those are the people that built the pyramids. Their fathers built it, like that. Those are the people. That is the bloodline of the pyramid people. That's what the Mizraim references to me. From everything that I'm studying, That's what the term Mizraim means. Is that those are the people, those are the children of the pyramid builders. Not that long, an hour and 20 minutes. 120. 120. Right. That's what I'm saying. It's not possible that, and that's why I'm laying the framework with that, because it's not possible that they could write a book that's supposed to contain the knowledge of everything and not have the most spellbinding object on earth. Like literally, if God ever came in the flesh on earth, according to any form of religion, we would have to say he was involved with the construction of them buildings. Period. Right? So the thing is, and here's the thing that we also have to add into this, and I might be assuming that people are familiar, but mountains in and of themselves, mountains are holy places. Mountains from it don't matter what culture it is. Mountains are holy places. Period. The Bible, from Mount Sinai to the mountain where Jesus's tomb was, mountains are holy places. Right? You got the weirdos in Cali out at Mount Shasta, like it doesn't matter. Mountains are considered holy places, right? Even the Greeks and the Romans, they had the gods lived up on top of the mountain. Like, mountains have always been considered holy places. You know what I'm saying? So it just, in Kemet, they built their own mountains. You know what I'm saying? Like they built their own mountains. Like, that's what you're gonna do. They built their own mountains. You know what I'm saying? Then you look where they got the kings at, they built them into the side of the mountain. They got whole tombs that they built into the side of mountains. But with the pyramids, they literally built their own mountains. Like, so let me just pull up this map though. And then we look at this real quick. Okay. We're gonna jump over to Tanzania real quick. Let's jump over to Tanzania, right? Remember, this is where Zip with the Drip try to tell me that they don't make sea moss where black people is at, and then dumb old Sanchez jumped on the bandwagon and looked super stupid, right? But let's jump over to Tanzania real quick, right? Now look at this. Ooh, look at that one right there. Oh my goodness, that's the one right there. That's the one right there. That's the one right there. You see that? Oh my goodness, look at that right there. Can you imagine living somewhere where you could see that every day, every night? See, when we have these historical conversations, it'd be so far removed from like real life. It'd be hard to get a grasp on using our common sense. Right? Now look at this. Look at this here. This is remarkable. This is remarkable. That is a picture. That's a picture, right? Let me see what else we can find. Okay, look at that. Look at that there. Okay. Now, let me see if, oh, look at this one. This is better. Now, this is better because you get to see the Twin Peaks. This is what I was trying to find. Perfect. Okay, you see this? You see this got Twin Peaks, right? You see that? Twin Peaks? Twin Peaks. I want y'all to get this. Twin Peaks. Hold on. I want y'all to get this Twin Peaks thing for a second. I want y'all to, yeah, we're going to write that down. Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks, right? Make sure y'all hitting the Cash App. If y'all like this information, this research, y'all value it, hit the Cash App. I gotta make sure I say that. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the platform, right? People got messages. If you're part of the Patreon, I just sent y'all some messages. Please respond back on the Patreon. Now it's me asking y'all to please respond to the Patreon. Yeah, let's go. December is Patreon time. And 2025 is going to be a Patreon year. So, yeah, we're going to officially fade to black off of YouTube. Facts. That's a certified. Come on now. Verification. Look at these Twin Peaks, though. I want y'all to catch this, right? All right. So look. So we taking note. Mount Kilimanjaro, Twin Peaks. Okay. So we got this, right? Okay. Now let's get out of here. Actually, let's leave this up because I don't want to mess up the search. All right, hold up. Look. See what I typed in? All right, so hold on. I want y'all to see this. Y'all see where we at, right? Mount Kilimanjaro, right? This is Tanzania, okay? So you could do this on your computer, right? Type in Nile River, Tanzania, right? I want y'all to understand this. Okay, look, perfect. Look at this. You see this? Britannica. The Nile River, its basin includes what? Parts of Tanzania, right? Its basin includes parts of Tanzania. The two feeder rivers meet near Rusumo Falls on the border between Rwanda and Tanzania. The White Nile, which is the longer of the two, begins at Lake Victoria in Tanzania. Okay? It begins here. Look at this one, National Geographic. The Nile River, it begins in the rivers that flow into Lake Victoria, located in modern-day Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Why am I telling y'all this? Because I don't believe that all these Egyptologists and Kemetic scholars have told y'all this, right? But this was the holy thing for people from Kemet and Nubia. They would travel the Nile to where the Nile began. That was like a holy pilgrimage for them. They would travel the Nile back to where the Nile began, and it's Mount Kilimanjaro, the Twin Peaks, right? And so some language scholars have said that's where the origin of this came from. That's where the origin of the word came from. Right? Or not the word, excuse me. Not the word, but the glyph. This is the glyph. This is the hieroglyph. I'm doing a terrible job of drawing it, but this is the hieroglyph that means mountain. It's pronounced Jew. It's pronounced Jew. Right? So I'm saying, and obviously, of course, I lay out a lot more detail in the book. It's a small book, though. And it's mostly with prayer. Oh, that's another thing. It's prayer. The book is saturated with, that like it's a prayer book. That's why it's the Electrician Prayer Manual Part 2. The one complaint that I got from people about the Electrician Prayer Manual Part 1 is that it didn't have prayers in it. Right? I think it had one prayer in it, maybe. Right? So this book has more prayers in it. Right? And we do some comparisons from English to Greek to Hebrew to the Kemetic, right? We do some comparisons with prayers, right? But this is one of the concepts that we also discuss in the book, right? Because the term Jew goes back to Judah, right? But there's no real concept of that. Right? The only real concept of Jew in that time period would be the man-made mountains. Right? So now when you think of the term Mizraim, right? Mizraim means mounds. It doesn't mean Egypt. It means mounds, right? 2 specifically, it's plural. The word is plural. So it doesn't mean mound, it means mounds, right? There's only one land of man-made mounds on earth. And it just so happens that the word for a mountain is Jew. Right? So this is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to pull this up. You see, this is the meaning that you get. This is the meaning you get. But you gotta look it up to find out. You gotta look harder, I guess, to find out that this is not the exact meaning. Right? You gotta take this, though, the land of Egypt and its people. Right? You gotta take that. But you got to keep going. Now, see, look at this right here. You see right here? See this right here? Look at this one right here. So it'll sound crazy. It'll sound crazy right up into the part where we start to look this stuff up. Yeah, this is different. I have to give it to you, Ink. This is different.
Into the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically? Refer to the Sinai Bible. Would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus, like the codex that comes? Okay, that's why I was trying to get some clarification, because I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because Sinaiticus in particular is just a 4th century Greek manuscript. Its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. When you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there, I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up Matthew 27. Where it has Jesus being crucified, and that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or John 19, or any of the other ones. So my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently.
Where was that piece
I found
discovered?
the text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas. Never got crucified. As a matter of fact, the Sinai Bible, Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. But then you go to the Sinai Bible. In the